Michelle Tucker's journey has been anything but ordinary. From dropping out of high school and working as a legal junior at 15 to graduating as a lawyer, all while raising a child. With deep roots in the Geelong community, her story is one of passion and resilience. Not just in carving a path for herself, but for the next generation of lawyers. As the principal solicitor and coordinator of Deacon's community law clinics, she's providing hands-on legal training that connects theory with real-world impact. Law students at Deakin aren't just studying the law, they're practicing it, being given the chance to work with real clients and deliver vital legal support to people who might otherwise go without. This is the story of a bold initiative that's bringing legal education into the heart of local communities, and the inspiring educator who's leading the way. Recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, this is Stories of Wonder. Michelle Tucker, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Firstly, tell me, how long have you been working at Deakin?
At Deakin, I've been teaching for about 13 years. I started off as a sessional academic and was casual for about 7 years, and then became permanent in the law school. I was then a teaching scholar, and then I entered the clinic when the former principal lawyer was in there, and I was helping out with the family law practice because I'm also a practicing solicitor. And then the principal solicitor left. So I then took on that role, and I've been principal solicitor of Deakin Law Clinic and coordinator since March 22.
Right, so a few years now. So what was your introduction to law like in your life and working in it?
When I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I didn't know how to be a lawyer, or I was always interested in the law, but I didn't like school and never saw it as something that I could attain. I grew up in the northern suburbs in Geelong, in Norlane and Corio. Mum was a single mum. We were in Housing Commission house, and I was the eldest of 5 girls. So it was a very busy household. And I didn't like school and felt that I was ready to go and work and earn some money. So I actually left school at 15.
At 15?
Yeah, September of year 10, I left. And I remember going and getting my form signed in the high school, and they're like, well, what are you going to do? And I had a job at that stage. But so how it came about, I said to Mum in the morning, I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want school. She said, well, you're not leaving, just for any job. You need a job. And I opened up the newspaper, and there was a legal junior position in Belmont, which is a suburb of Geelong. So a legal junior in a law firm in Belmont. And I had an interview that day and got the job. And so Mum's like, damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I started working full-time as a 15-year-old, didn't even finish year 10 in a law firm. So,
and what does a legal junior do?
I did everything from mail, because back then, there was no email and things. It was the old DOS computers. Mm-hmm. And so mail, some conveyancing transactions, you'd assist on the conveyancing files, the banking each day, typing up small letters and correspondence, dealing with clients, reception. So essentially you were the jack of all trades. You were running around helping the lawyers, cleaning out their offices.
Wow.
If they needed help. So I worked there until I was about 18, and then I went to Melbourne and lived up in Melbourne for a few years, worked in a law firm up there, and was a settlement clerk and running around the city all day doing conveyancing settlements, and a mortgage clerk, and then came back to Geelong for 8 years in a law firm in Geelong, and then decided that I had gone as far as I could go. I was a practice manager at that stage and accounts manager, and thought it's time to get a law degree. So I applied for law but didn't get in.
Yeah, how do you do that when you haven't kind of, finished school?
I'd never written an essay in my life. I had never, So I applied. I sat a DOLSAT test for Deakin.
So what's DOLSAT?
Deakin University Law Admissions Test.
Right.
And at that time, this was 2002, at that time they were only accepting like 4 mature age positions.
Oh, wow.
And there was hundreds of people sitting this test, and I wasn't successful, which I didn't expect to be because of my lack of education in that respect. So I applied for an arts degree, and I only knew about this because of the lawyers I worked with and the young lawyers. And I was quite disappointed I didn't get into law. And living in Geelong, and I was a single mother at this stage, but I didn't sort of have an opportunity to go to any other university than Deakin, which is terrific. So I'm a Deakin alumni. Deakin offers regional students options to study in Geelong, which is, was great for me at the time. So one of the lawyers I was working with, she said, there's other ways you can get into law. And I didn't know anyone that had ever been to university other than the people I worked with. No one in my family had been to university. It was only later on that some of my family actually finished year 12, but at that stage, no one had even finished year 12. So I applied for an arts degree and got in and started the arts degree and then transferred across, got good marks, transferred across to the double degree with law.
Yeah. So it was really just through your network of people that you'd established from like working,
That's right.
Adjacent to law, like in law, that you were able to figure that out, figure the pathway out.
Yeah. The legal industry in Geelong is very friendly and accommodating and a great support network. Lawyers and, all legal staff. So, yeah, it's a great profession in Geelong.
So you finally get into law, you do your degree. You're a single mother at this point as well.
Yes.
Which is so impressive.
Yeah. So, and again, sometimes I wonder if it is generational. Growing up northern suburbs, a lot of single parent families in Norlane and Corio. And, so I had my son young. I was only 20 and, I was still working 3 jobs. And
3 jobs.
Studying full-time at university.
And studying full-time.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And what were these jobs? Were you still...
I was managing 2 law firms and doing the books of another law firm.
Oh, my gosh.
Just small firms, yeah.
And what was it like to study when you had already been around law firms for that long and you were already kind of in the workforce in a way? What did that do for your work ethic compared to the people you were studying with? And also just how did you manage the pressure of keeping all those plates spinning in the air while raising a child and studying law?
Yeah, look, there was tough times. And I remember meeting with a counsellor at the university saying, I'm struggling to find time to study. And she said, well, you've got a lot going on and you have to have the capacity to study, whether it's time or, the mental toughness to do it. So she said, I think you need to drop a unit. I said, well, that won't accord with my timeline of how I want to do things. I'm lucky I had a good mum, so she helped me out with my son, which was really good. So, family support is really great, but you just get it done. And I had a goal and I wanted to achieve it. So, yeah.
No other option.
Yeah, that's right.
So from there, firstly, what was it like when you finally finished your course and you actually officially became a lawyer?
It was amazing. I counted down 40 exams and got to the 40th and it was like, wow, I'm here. And look, I always felt that the students and the younger students knew more than I did and were more educated than I did. Going back to the question about studying law as in working in law firms, it is very different. Often what I was learning in the classroom or the lectures, I thought, how am I going to use that in practice? And so you're essentially learning the theory and how to find the answer and research the law rather than actually practice it. It is 2 totally different things in respect. So practical skills, actually the practice of law is totally different. It's putting those research skills we learn into use, but there's a whole nother layer of practical skills that you need as a practicing lawyer as well. And I think, I was sort of lucky I had that from working in the law firms and had been mentored and witnessed a lot of great lawyers that I worked for as well that were really good at what they did. In my arts degree, I did anthropology and criminology and I really enjoyed those. I did a major and a minor because I could be a little bit more passionate and engaged with the content in the arts subjects, the social sciences, because law can be really dry. It's very factual. It's very, very pragmatic, logical, apply the law to the facts and, come up with a solution. So I really did enjoy having the balance of both degrees.
You are now a lawyer. How did you end up at Deakin? And just picking up on one of the points that you raised there, like obviously because of your experience with where you were working at the time, you were able to sort of connect the dots a little bit in like the theory and then how to, like you've seen examples of how to put it into practice, which maybe not everyone in your course at the time had experienced. That's obviously sort of what you're trying to do now in your work at Deakin with the pop-up law clinic. So just explain to me how, like, what your journey was to get to Deakin, and then maybe we'll go into a little bit of what you're doing here today.
Yeah, sure. So when you study law, you don't really work out what area you want to practice in. You learn all the areas of law, and then it depends on opportunities and job opportunities and the like. So I was practicing in family law in Geelong full-time once I was admitted, and so you get admitted to the Supreme Court as a practicing lawyer. And I didn't really enjoy full-time family law. Didn't love it. It's very taxing, emotional toll on clients. It's the worst time of their lives, you know, and you're assisting them through it. So I was still learning how to separate myself from that and leave work at work and not take it home. And I enjoyed the actual law itself, family law, but dealing with clients, you know, was sort of taking the toll on me at that time. And it's good that we recognise the different areas of law, you know, that we like and we don't like and so on. So I then, a colleague in Geelong had some teaching opportunity, and he said, do you want to teach law for commerce? It was. And I was able to contact the lecturer at Deakin and got some sessional work and started off teaching law for commerce, and that expanded to other units. And then I was in the law school from then on.
Talk to me a little bit about the pop-up law clinics at Deakin, what it means for the students, and I guess why it's an important element of studying law.
Yeah. So Deakin Law Clinic, we are a law firm. We're a registered law firm. From 2017, we were registered with the Legal Services Board, and we're a community legal service. So we provide free legal advice and assistance to community members who are eligible. We do have a criteria, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But essentially, we're a teaching clinic. So it's a real law firm. We have real clients, and the students get to work on real client matters. They get to interview the clients. They get to draft the letters of advice, the court documents. They get to come to court with us when we do the court matters. So they're fully involved. We run a series of seminars with them, so we don't throw them in the deep end, but on client interviewing skills and plain language writing and so on. But we take the holistic approach, as in it's not just about teaching them practical skills to be a good lawyer. It's about those other skills, and some people don't like the word soft skills, but soft skills such as empathy and kindness, because a lot of these clients are going through, you know, really hard times in their lives, and just being able to convey that and help them solve a problem. The clients are so grateful. The impact it has and the great outcomes we're getting for clients is really good. But in turn, the impact on the students, you know, we teach them about professionalism and reputation and ethical conduct, as well as those practical legal skills to be a good lawyer. So they get to do the client intake, meet the client, work on their matters and see some really good outcomes. And it's really good for the students. So impact on the community, impact on the clients, and impact for the students. So each trimester we get a new cohort of students, and we have 5 practice areas that don't always run, depends on staffing, but we have a criminal law practice, employment law practice, generalist law, family law practice, and a policy clinic as well. In trimester 2, 2024, I already had a relationship with Cloverdale Community Centre previously from Law Week. So Victoria Law Foundation operates Law Week in May every year. And it's where the community, there's all these law events to help the community understand what's out there, legal services and, you know, their rights under the law. So Victoria Law Foundation, Deakin Law School sponsor, and we would hold some events on behalf of Victoria Law Foundation as Deakin Law School as a sponsor. And I would present out at Cloverdale Community Centre, for instance,
and this
in
is
Law
in
Week.
North Geelong.
Yeah, so in the
right?
northern suburbs is Geelong. There's Norlane and Corio, and Cloverdale's the neighbourhood centre out there. And that's where I grew up. That's my hood. It's my home.
Yeah.
And my mum still lives out there. My nan's in aged care in Norlane. They lived there for 60 years. So
it's your community.
it is my community, and I am very passionate about it and very defensive of it as well. A lot of people are double income, hardworking, but there's also does have a higher rate of people on Centrelink, disability pensions, for example. There's a high rate of mental health, unemployment. Unemployment in Norlane is 19.5%.
Right.
In Corio, it's 12.5%, and the Geelong average is 4.5%.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's various reasons for disadvantage. In the suburbs, it's more culturally diverse. But going back to unemployment, for example, if you're even employed for 1 hour, you're not included in the statistics. So it's not truly reflective.
Yep.
So there is a greater need out there, and it is an underserved community in the needs for access to justice. If legal assistance and access to justice is not met, then it causes further disadvantage. There was a Victoria Law Foundation public understanding of law survey called Pulse, done in the last couple of years. There's 3 volumes. And it just confirms what we know, that often disadvantaged communities have multiple layers of legal issues, and that can lead to other issues that aren't specifically legal, but it's because those legal issues haven't been solved or met, the legal needs haven't been met, that it then has a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And it might lead to health issues or illness. It might lead to unemployment. It might lead to homelessness or losing housing.
So it's like one set of
stress.
Disadvantages begets.
That's right, and
multiple.
it compounds.
Yeah.
That's right. So when we created the pop-up clinic, I contacted Liz Bonner. She's the CEO at Cloverdale, very passionate about her community, and they all are. And the community centre out there, they have projects all the time to serve the community. They have education programs, but they also have a wraparound service. And again, we want to bring the collective together here, but they'll have social work students assisting community members out there. They'll have support workers, volunteers. So it's trying to get all these different aspects of a community, what their needs are, and trying to help them with all issues that they might be facing. Legal issues are just one, and it's a part of that collective service.
And specifically, they're trying to bring these services in a centralised sort of place to the community of people that may not even know where to start with some of their issues, right?
That's right. They don't even know where to start. Often there's 2 sort of types of community members, some that do know where to maybe get some help and ask for help, but often, resources are so stretched, they often don't get the help they need to actually fix the legal problem anyway.
Yeah.
Or there's many that just have no clue where to start.
Yeah.
They don't know where to start at all. So we had a team of 9 students in this particular pop-up clinic, and I arranged with Liz at Cloverdale that the students would go out there 1 day a week on site and meet the community, be immersed in the community. And we scheduled appointments across the day every Thursday for the clients to see students and get some legal advice and assistance with their matters. It was such a success because not only did we help clients, and I'll talk about a couple of the matters, but the students, the impact on the students, they were immersed in this community, many of whom are very disadvantaged. And some of our students, not all of them, but some of our students can be from quite affluent backgrounds and have never been exposed to disadvantage.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does it mean for the students really? Because it would be it would give them a whole different perspective on the issues, or in fact, unbundling the people from the issues and putting them back together again, putting it into perspective as to what these people are dealing with and maybe why these issues then have come around.
Yeah, that's right. So a prime example of that is one of the clients, and this is just an example of many clients, but one might have a motor vehicle accident and doesn't have insurance and is on a disability pension and can't pay. So, we'll assist with the motor vehicle accident and dealing with the other party or their insurer. And then it turns out, this same person might have tens of thousands of dollars of fines.
Right.
And they're just ignoring, they're burying their head because they don't know where to start. and it's, fines, parking fines, speeding fines, traffic infringements, all different fines that they just ignore and bury their head. So, we assist them resolving that matter. And then you sort of look at the holistic picture here, and that client might be paying $450 a week in rent but is on a disability pension. And so, this client in particular, the students then helped get on the public housing list. And the client didn't know where to start, didn't know how to use a computer, didn't know how to fill out a form. And so the students were able to assist by completing the application for public housing for the Department of Housing. And this client was so grateful. And students, this is just one example of how, there's varying things in someone's life that can impact and then perpetuate and continue the disadvantage.
Yeah. And it's like a completely different scale of issues and a different set of choices to what most people might have to make in their life. You've got this massive issue, this massive issue, this massive issue. Well, I'm not even going to bother starting one of them because it's all going to beget another problem.
That's right.
And like a lot of that's quite administrative. So
yeah,
what is the typical kind of experience for students? Are they all like taking on cases and going to court and, fighting them out with your guidance, or is some of this, resolved in the room?
Yeah.
At a smaller scale or easier to kind of solve?
Yeah, a lot of what we do as lawyers, it's not all like the TV, and the students get disappointed when they
do they ever say,
they say, how come it's not like Suits?
No, you're out of order. Is there any of that going on?
Objection.
Objection?
It's a lot of what we do as lawyers and, teaching the students is we negotiate and try and get a good outcome for the client. And often that means not going to court. A good outcome is trying to resolve the matter before it gets to that point.
Right.
And so we're very good problem solvers. We're fix-it people is what I tell the students. And often, you can see some of them might be legal issues, but there's other issues that might be impacting those legal issues as well. So it's trying to even refer them to other services, counselling, social work, local support services to assist with those other issues as well. It's making sure you identify them.
What does this kind of mean for the community, especially your, personal kind of community of Cloverdale?
So the pop-up clinic has a variety of matters. There might have been family law matters, intervention order matters, wills and estates, powers of attorney, fines, debts, infringement notices, so various, very civil practice, generalist practice as such. And so you're helping the community with all different reasons. And a lot of these community members don't know where to get legal help, but also getting to a lawyer's office can be quite daunting.
Yeah.
So to be able to go into their local community centre and with people they know and volunteers and supportive, welcoming people and sit down and get some legal advice is great for the community. It really is. And the feedback we got from Cloverdale and its community is that it was such a successful program, and sometimes a client might think they've got a legal issue and there wasn't, and just getting that clarification, okay, there's no issue there, or no, there's no grounds there, but they just want to have an understanding of an issue that they might be facing, and just explaining that to them in straightforward, plain, realistic terms, and then they go, okay, I realise there isn't anything I can do about that. But in turn, we solved many problems for clients that they had been facing as well. Can't do everything. So the pop-up clinic, we didn't go to court for people because we were based out there. So it was generally more a civil service in the respect that we were just resolving a lot of their issues they had. With court, sometimes we can refer them out, or we can refer them to one of our other practice areas. So, for instance, one of the clients had an intervention order matter, and our family law practice does intervention orders, and we go to court on a Wednesday. So we just transferred that internally. So that worked as well. With our family law practice in Geelong, we do a duty lawyer service at the court every Wednesday, and the students get to go to court with the lawyer, and they get to liaise with the court staff, the police, the court registry, the magistrate, the other lawyers, and they get to see it all working. So that's also a really great service for the community.
And with the pop-up clinics, are there any other places that these happen?
Not at the moment. So that was our first, and it was such a success. I've then transferred that to what's called now the generalist practice, and I'm running that in the city at downtown at the moment. So that's the generalist practice, which is, across all different areas of law. There might be opportunity down the track. It just depends on resourcing and capacity.
And what does this kind of work integrated learning really mean for the students, and how have they found these pop-up clinics?
Yeah, so all students have to do a work integrated learning unit as a core for their law degree. The feedback from the students, they were posting on LinkedIn. The impact on the students was tremendous. They said it was their best experience. They were, it's funny, a couple of students claimed they were a little bit scared going out to Corio. Yeah. And I, again, defensive, that's my hometown. But they were so immersed with the community and really thrived out there and knew they were making a difference. And just the gratefulness, the community was grateful, but the gratitude and the feeling of, making a difference the students got from that pop-up clinic is really good. I'd like to do many pop-up clinics at various locations. It's just all a matter of capacity and resources.
Yeah. You were on the cover of Northerly Aspects magazine celebrating Geelong's northern suburbs. You're a bit of a hometown hero by the looks of it.
Yeah, the magazine was in the local coffee shop and my mum and nan's friends were all saying, your daughter's on the cover, which was a bit cute.
What does it mean to you personally to be able to run these clinics in a place like that?
It's very satisfying. Helping people solve their legal problems that can't help themselves. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. And it is a really underserved community. I would like to have an ongoing pop-up clinic in the northern suburbs, ongoing. I'd like to have one in a suburb of Melbourne. I think it's a difference that Deakin, not only are we impacting the community that we're immersed in, the impact for the students is, as I said, tremendous. And I just think that it should be something, it's a civic duty as well. It's giving back and knowing that that's where I came from, giving back to my community and helping people that need it the most is, very rewarding. It's something I want to continue to do.
Is there anything that Deakin's Law Clinics offer that's a bit different to what some of the other universities do?
Okay, so Deakin Law Clinic, like I said, we are a law firm. We do try and make sure that all our students can access a law clinic in respect of we have a Geelong office, we have a Melbourne office, so that allows the regional students to undertake a law clinic and also the Melbourne students to attend in the city. But the policy clinic, for instance, is run online as well. So that enables our online cohort, whether you live interstate or in Melbourne too, or you can't get into the office, it allows our online cohort to actually participate in a clinic as well, which is terrific, which I do think makes the law clinic stand out. As for the types of work we do, there's different community legal services and different law clinics within law schools that have different types of practice areas. Most of them are advice only. And so essentially there'll be an intake day where the law clinic will see the clients and then they provide an advice and then see you later. So a lot of those clinics, and there's varying different clinics, but a lot of the clinics are 80% advice only, 20% casework. At Deakin Law Clinic, we're 20% advice only, and it might be quick advice because there's a deadline for the client that we can't meet because we're a teaching clinic. So we just give a quick advice to help them meet that deadline. So 20% advice only and 80% casework. So that means we actually run the files, we run the matters, we get the matter resolved, we come up with settlement agreements. So, an example is in the employment law practice, there might be an employee that's been underpaid, owed thousands of dollars. We act for that client against the employer and we recover the money and we get a terms of settlement.
So you can follow up and follow it
That's
all
right.
the way sometimes.
So we actually resolve the matter. It's not just providing advice. So we can't always, it depends on capacity and resources, on deadlines. You know, sometimes a client, and again, this comes back to sometimes the clients, if they can't help themselves, they're not going to come to us until the last possible minute. And then it's like, look, there isn't a lot we can do for you in the short time, but we can give you some quick advice. Okay? But often they are, because they're burying their head and they don't know what to do. These deadlines are looming and they can't assist themselves. So often we're just trying to put out smaller fires and get extensions of time to try and be able to assist them as well.
What is it like for the students to have to experience or maybe witness giving quite hard advice to people that are coming to them for help?
With the students, a lot of the matters can be quite confronting if there's family violence involved, which obviously, you know, is rife in our society, and family violence intervention orders and things. Some of the content can be quite confronting. It's building that resilience and all those other skills I talk about, you know, the holistic, not just the practical skills. It's dealing with that. What we do in the clinic is we have a lot of debriefs, and the students will all get together and we debrief about our clients. Because of client confidentiality, they can't go and talk to anyone about clients. So it's important that the students debrief, and we have a debrief at the end of the day. And, you know, I do this in practice with my team of lawyers as well. We talk about our matters. It's like any workplace where, you know, you have to debrief to be able to sort of let it go and move on. But they can be confronting. And I think it's good for the students because they are realising there's people that are suffering and, you know, impacted by things sometimes out of their control, and to be able to help in matters where these clients are very vulnerable and exposed and, you know, often suffering trauma, and their legal issues compound that, and many of them are created from the legal issues.
So it's obviously a high pressure job, especially psychologically. So I guess providing that kind of avenue to debrief and all of that gets them into a good habit of and a good practice of figuring out what it's going to feel like to do this job day to day and how to cope with it, right?
For sure. Emotional well-being of the students and the staff, the solicitors themselves, is paramount, because a lot of the matters do have some confronting material that the students see and the solicitors see. So debriefing is essential to making sure we're taking care of their emotional well-being.
So we've done the pop-up clinic in Cloverdale. There could be more in the future. We've got the ongoing clinics as well in the city and in Geelong. These are giving, you know, Deakin students practical experience and the experience of feeling like what it's going to be like to be a lawyer. What does the future look like of studying law at Deakin?
I think Deakin does practical really well. We are known for student satisfaction, and definitely that it is a more practical law degree. The law clinic is essential in that respect. So any work integrated learning unit supports the practical degree. But just doing a law clinic and running client files and working on client matters under the supervision of lawyers is just an experience that they're not going to get all the time. So I would like to expand the pop-up clinic so that we could include more neighbourhood houses eventually, because the neighbourhood houses provide a great support network, and we could rotate different neighbourhood houses, and I think that would be great, not only impact for those communities that need it the most, but also the impact on the students on an ongoing basis, and the opportunity for the students to participate and immerse themselves in their community. That's something they're not going to get with just studying in the classroom.
Well, Michelle Tucker, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dom.